Hello and welcome to the Whoniverse and to an in-depth review of Doctor Who Series 11 Episode 1, The Woman Who Fell to Earth. In this review I'm going to share my opinion on the episode, take a look at what worked and what didn't, and see if there are any references or small details to spot. By the way, there will be spoilers in this video, so be sure to watch the episode then head back here. So, let's begin. The episode begins in a strange way. It begins with a YouTube video uploaded by the Doctor's future friend Ryan Sinclair, played by Tosin Cole. The frame is set out like the screen of a computer in a YouTube format, telling us that this is present day. Now before the shot zooms in, we can see a range of thumbnails for suggested videos, which actually feature members of the Doctor Who art department. It's a great touch, really allowing members of the crew that put such hard work into the series to show their faces on screen, even if it's just a small reference. Anyway, the shot condenses to a point where Ryan's video is close to filling the frame. In the video, Ryan talks about a wonderful woman who is just brilliant. Combine this with the title of the episode, and the Doctor's new appearance, and we are led to believe the woman Ryan is talking about is the Doctor. How wrong that turns out to be is shown later in the episode. As Ryan begins to give hints to the condition, he talks about learning to ride a bike, which leads us to the sequence where we introduce to Grace O'Brien, played by Sharon D. Clarke, and Graham O'Brien, played by Bradley Walsh. In this small sequence, we learn Grace is Ryan's grandma and Graham is Ryan's granddad/step-granddad. Either way, it's these facts sprinkled into the dialogue in a way that doesn't just feel like over-the-top exposition. They work really well. Already we've been introduced to three characters and know how they relate to each other. This sequence, like the entirety of the episode, was brilliantly directed by Jamie Childs, with incredible cinematography and camera work, with each shot looking professional and a pleasure to the eyes. The use of close-ups and evening golden hour in the scene works really well. Now when Ryan falls off the bike, we see his frustration come out, showing us he's tried this many times, each time with the same sad result. He gets so frustrated he throws the bike off a rocky ledge. Now this is an interesting decision, as I'm not sure if he would realistically throw the bike, or if that's just a bit over the top. Either way, it's a great little scene which ends with the realisation of what Ryan has done being shown with regret on every single person's face. We then get a nice establishing shot showing off Sheffield, and once again showing us the slight tension between Ryan and Graham and their relationship. Families are a complicated thing to write about, especially for TV, as everyone's family is different, so to have Chris Chibnall write a script about a family that isn't all stereotypes is great. As Graham and Grace leave to catch a train, Ryan heads off to retrieve his bike. Now it's interesting seeing the landscape Ryan is walking through, as it looks almost similar to the landscape in the costume reveal photo shoot we were shown last year. The score for this episode is something that often gets forgotten in reviews with all the focus on the new Doctor, so I'm going to be sure to talk about it. With Second Agnola's music sounding very dramatic and almost eerie as Ryan hops down onto the autumn leaves to find his bike. The score really does shine in this episode with many great pieces of music. I would be interested to see what Murray Gold would have done with the episode, but still Mr. Agnola's work sounds great. Now as Ryan tries to locate his bike, he sees it hanging in a tree. He's then greeted by a strange hologram-like series of shapes. Now the CGI used to create this looks great and truly believable. From what I've seen in trailers and in episodes, it's fair to say the new visual effects team from DNEG have really done well. When this work is combined with the improved cinematography, it appears like another leap, similar to when Matt Smith took the helm of the TARDIS and his episodes were broadcast in HD, allowing the effects team at the time, the Mill, to create effects that appeared to be more believable. With the strange hologram-esque thing causing the camera to shake, and when Ryan touches it, clearly audible science fiction noises filled the air. That sound new and fresh and showcases the work of the sound design team as well. Brilliant all around. When the strange object, which is revealed to be a Stanza transport pod, appears, it looks very Sarah Jane Adventures, if you know what I mean. The style and bright colours look similar to something you would find in the brilliant Doctor Who spin-off aimed at the younger demographic. Now back in the scene with Ryan, as the way he calls 999 after touching the object only to ask for the police, but with a maybe, really made it believable as it showed uncertainty and tells the audience nothing like this has ever happened to the character before, so it's unclear on what action to take. Now this next scene introduces us to the character of Yasmin Khan, or Yaz, played by Amanda Gill. She's a probationary police officer who wants more from her job as she aspires to do more. The confrontation we see her in at first shows her to be quick thinking and able to negotiate, even if it's over a parking dispute. In this scene we have one of the other women wearing a long colourful striped scarf. It could be a subtle reference to the Fourth Doctor or just a coincidence. Now what confused me about the parking thing, even though it was quite funny, was the hammer through the window. Now obviously the two people are ready to go to work, maybe with handbags and winter clothes. If so, where did the hammer come from? As I doubt either would be carrying one in their bags, and there isn't much need for a hammer in the bag of your car. So it's a bit odd really that a hammer appeared and not like a tyre wrench or some other object. Either way, it's still a great sequence. The scene gives us an insight into Yaz's character, which is something that appears to be missing in the rest of the episode. as the majority of the focus is placed on Ryan, the Doctor, and the repercussions of the actions featuring Graham and Grace. Yaz has moved out of the spotlight and not developed as much as the other characters, with the only other part of her backstory being taught is the fact that she went to the same school as Ryan. I hope we learn a bit more about Yaz in the future episodes and get to see her use some more police training in action. In the next scene, Yaz reunites with Ryan after roughly 10 years since primary school and questions Ryan on the strange alien object. This scene is paired with a dramatic but subtle score from Suga Nakanola, which again really works well. I love how the shots go from mid-shots to close-ups to extreme close-ups as Ryan and Yaz get closer as characters, and then the shot snaps back to a mid-shot when Yaz begins to question him again. Now this scene is where things start to really kick off in the episode, and Grace and Graham are on their way back from seeing Ryan on the train. It's now dark as Yaz said it was going to be soon, giving us a sense of time and perspective to the audio of events, which in Doctor Who is often difficult to work out. We get a nice little moment between Grace and Graham, and then we get a train wreck. As a sphere of wires smashes through the driver's window, a lot of fans of Series 2 were comparing this to Creature to the Scribble Creature from the episode Fear Her. There isn't any relevance between the two, but the designs are kind of similar, so we'll just go with it. The scene is great with tension building the entire time, helped greatly by the score, the lighting dissipating, leaving shadows in a blue wash of colour. Grace is more keen to investigate than Graham as she ventures through the carriage. Graham is a bit more reluctant to investigate and is shown to fear danger for himself and the others, which holds a new meaning given what we learn about Graham's character later in the episode. Now in this scene we meet Carl, played by Johnny Dixon, who is another passenger on the train. Now we learn that he's a very down-to-earth and literal character, but his predictable line of "I think something's coming down the train" is just pure exposition which didn't need to be said out loud. Instead of telling us, show us. Having a load of grating noises of a thing moves down the carriage to carriage, causing the characters to come to the realisation without stating the obvious out loud. Chris Chibnall actually made a joke about something like this before in the Series 7 episode he penned, Dinosaurs on a Spaceship, where Rory and Brian state the obvious and the Doctor makes the joke that stating the obvious is hereditary, so he's obviously aware of this issue. Now, the fact that Graham realises they are in danger and immediately makes a decision to get away from said danger by moving to the back of the carriage isn't cowardice, but instead logical thinking, that we would all do in the same situation, making the character that bit more relatable. Grace then decides to phone Ryan letting him know about the incident, so then we both have Ryan and Yaz heading to the scene. As is another character, as the wire creature gets closer, Graham, Grace and Carl fear for their lives, only for the Doctor to literally drop in and save the day. The last time we saw the Doctor, she was falling from the TARDIS as it was both exploding and dematerialising. She fell from a fairly reasonable height, and the audio of her falling is from the scene in Twice Upon a Time. As the Doctor crashes into the carriage, the first question many viewers would think of is, how did she survive the fall? As even falling from that height into a body of water, you would be dead. So my best bet is to pull it down to the post-regeneration story, The Christmas Invasion from 2005, where the Doctor has his hand cut off in a sword fight, and grows a new one, after saying that in the first 16 hours of regeneration he has enough residual energy to heal himself. Now if the Doctor can regrow a hand in seconds, I guess healing yourself from a fall makes sense? The Doctor has survived large falls without regenerating before, take the End of Time for example. Back to the scene, as the Doctor gets up and steadies herself, we get this great segment from what has to be the new title music. This music was developed using the original recordings made by Delia Derbyshire and adapted by Suga Nakanola, leaving us with this new theme which has the hallmarks of the classics, including the fizzing whoosh-like noises that feature in the 1960s title sequence. Now this episode didn't feature a title sequence, which was an odd decision. However, it gave us a bit more time to focus on the characters and made sure we didn't get separated from the action. So back to the action, with the Doctor puzzled, saying, "What?" and Grace just pointing, the Doctor quickly grabbing a live wire and attaching it to the creature, which is revealed to be a load of gathering coils. This Doctor is fast and thinking on her feet from the word go, next asking about exits and then realising that our trusty sonic screwdriver has fallen out of her pocket of her previous incarnation's tattered coat. This is the Doctor full of intelligent ideas and all the traits we expect, instead of taking half the episode to recover to the stage. She starts out fighting because that's what the situation demands. The gathering coils look really realistic, with the use of CGI looking spectacular. The acting in the scene is really quite good, with Carl pleading for his life to be spared, and the Doctor showing she can defend the Earth. Right, so after the gathering coil has planted DNA bombs into the collarbones of our main characters, it shoots off into the night sky, and the Doctor goes to investigate the rest of the train with Yaz and Ryan in pursuit. In this sequence, the Doctor questions and sees Yaz as an authority figure. She tries to reduce the risk Yaz poses by getting her to reveal who she is, not where she works. There's a line where the Doctor remembers she's a woman, and that's all that's said about it. No weird gestures, no weird comments. The Doctor just references her previous incarnation played by Peter Capaldi and leaves it at that. The Doctor then can't remember her own name and says it on the tip of my tongue. This is similar to the newly regenerated 5th Doctor in Castrovalva, saying it's on the tip of my mind. The Doctor also says I'm looking for a doctor, which is exactly the same as what Peter Davison incarnation says in Castrovalva. The Doctor, Yaz and Ryan examine the body of the deceased woman and sort out the lights and doors and return to the others. Now in this shot in the bottom right there's a poster for a charity campaign using a kitten called Daisy as an emotive hook. Now this cat is actually called Max and is owned by a member of the art department called Richard Wells, who tries to get a picture of his cat into everything he works on, so there's a nice little Easter egg there. In the next couple of scenes we are shown the Doctor taking control of the situation, and see Carl getting his details given to Yaz. Again he's a background character who we are given bits of information about, like breadcrumbs. The Doctor then realises that she no longer has her TARDIS and is exploding and then it dematerialised. We get Graham ask if he's meant to understand anything she's saying, and for a first time viewer that would be the same reaction, once more placing the role of the Doctor's friends or companions as the entry point into the show's weird world. We get Graham admit he doesn't believe in aliens, which is odd with the amount of time present day Earth has been attacked by aliens, but I guess using the excuse made in the episode World War III, if there's aliens right in front of your face you can't see them. The real excuse being the human race is quite thick. Carl then reiterates Graham's point again, saying no such thing as aliens, especially not in Sheffield. With that, Jodie Whittaker does a small thing which really works. She rolls her eyes, almost hailing back to the 9th Doctor in World War III, thinking to herself, I've told you I'm an alien, and you just saw a massive ball of alienness, what are you not seeing? Skipping over a scene or two until the Doctor arrives at the scene of the strange alien object. On the way to the location we get an insight into Ryan's dyspraxia, which is great as Doctor Who is not only raising awareness but showing what people with impairments or problems can achieve in a positive and unpatronising way. It's revealed the pod's missing and we get a shot of it in a transit van, then placed into an abandoned warehouse or garage. Now this is odd, as Ryan said he tried to lift it but couldn't, and we saw the object was cold to the touch, in a way that almost burnt the person placing their hand on it. So how did this guy, who isn't exactly the strongest looking, pick up the alien pod, put it in his van, which by the way is nowhere nearby to park as shown by the Doctor and a gang walking to the scene, and Ryan having to negotiate steep slopes to reach it in the first place? I feel like a lot of this is just skimmed over to avoid plot holes, but it doesn't take long to find them. In the warehouse this character sets up a few cameras and just sits and watches the object. Back with the Doctor we see her set a plan of action to find out all the information they can. As the gang splits up to search for clues, Ryan and Grace help the Doctor as she collapses. Now the Doctor collapsing 20 minutes in compared to within the first minute of the episode definitely helps us get invested into the new character, and care when she is rendered unconscious compared to say the Christmas Invasion, when the Doctor stumbles up the TARDIS, wishes everyone a Merry Christmas and falls to the floor, and then he's unconscious for most of the episode. Now as Yaz and Graham go off to find more info, they each find results that sum up their characters. Yaz asks her superior only to get turned away with snarky comments and a slammed door to the face, as they don't appreciate her as a police officer. Graham asks his previous work friends, who answer with a funny comment and laughs all round, showing Graham as a joker who hides his seriousness well. The next scene shows the Doctor's more alien side as she glows with a residual regeneration energy, with the sound department's signature regeneration effect. The effect looks a lot better than previous times and we get the signature wisp of energy coming from the Doctor's mouth. This has been apparent in the 10th and 11th Doctor's early regeneration scenes. Whether this energy will come back to haunt the Doctor is yet to be seen. We get a shot of the Stenser pod as it begins to crack open, the yellow light filling the space and its captor watching on in shock. The use of practical effects is outstanding and makes the scene that bit more believable. We get a quick look at the gathering coil and then the pod opens, the captor's arm himself, and just as the tension builds, we cut to what's almost like a jump scare as the Doctor lurches forward in pain. She then repeats lines from the Christmas Invasion asking who woke me up and saying I'm not ready. The Doctor discovers the group have been fitted with DNA bombs, but could be considered as a callback to Torchwood Series 2 Episode 1 Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, in which rogue time agent John Hart is implanted with a DNA bomb. The episode coincidentally was written by Chris Chibnall, who also wrote this episode. The Doctor makes a small speech about not knowing who she is yet, which is true for me as well, as everyone usually judges a Doctor on their first episode, or even their regeneration scene. But when it boils down to it, the Doctor doesn't show his or her true identity until a couple of episodes in, and they've been confronted with a set of different problems, and it's how they tackle those problems that really sets the tone of their character. After this speech, the Doctor forms a plan, constantly thinking on her feet, and she asks for Ryan's phone, and reformats it. The screen graphics created for the scene were made by Richard Wells and animated by Chris Gibbons. The Doctor and the gang get a shift on as they try to find the source of the DNA bombs in a comedic scene as the Doctor is thrown across the room and comments on the quality of the sofa. Back in the warehouse, we have Simshaw's first scene, as he crouches in a Terminator-like stance at the center of the now open pod, rising menacingly towards the crowbar-wielding observer. The costume design on the alien is almost Predator-like and really works, not to mention the makeup and creature's prosthetics we'll see later from Millennium Effects. As Shimshaw walks menacingly towards the enraged man, desperate to know of his sister's location, he utters the words, "You will never know," which, if you think about it, is more devastating than any physical harm he could enact, as you find out this person has been waiting for years to find the alien and, more important, find his missing sister. To never know after all this time has to hurt. Shimshaw doesn't stop there, as he freezes the human and then begins to break his jaw. And I thought Doctor Who was going to be less dark with this new Doctor. If I'm wrong, that will make Jodie's Doctor, who appears to be more of a hope-filled figure, stand out even more against the evil she faces, without the show feeling too childish, and that's what I love about the show. It's great for 5-year-olds and 55-year-olds alike. By the time the Doctor and the gang arrive, they see Tim Shaw's leaving the building and chase him through the smoke of a Sheffield night. The way the Doctor immediately runs after the alien without fear, and the others soon follow except Graham, who seems to have a great perception of danger and doesn't want anyone to get hurt. The team loses the alien to find a body only for the Doctor to apologise for the actions the alien has taken. Now when I first watched this, I thought to myself, why are you apologising? Then I remembered the Doctor claims herself to be the protector of Earth and has a duty of care. She's apologising because she feels that she's failed in her role. But this also shows that her memory and personality are reforming, and she is remembering who she is and her role in the universe. The Doctor's new friends bombard her with questions which the 12th Doctor would perhaps be irritated with. But this Doctor encourages and praises them, and not in a way that seems overly patronising. The Doctor then excitedly claims that she will build a new sonic screwdriver, showing this Doctor to be a quick-thinking, practical, and full of energy. The Doctor talks to Grace and Graham about the regeneration process in a way that makes it seem so much darker and sound so much more painful and traumatic than we ever think about. Because as an audience, we just think about the two actors and the change that brings, but not the repercussions for the character, as their entire physical and psychological state changes with elements of their consciousness and memories being jumbled up. Regeneration is an odd process, and this scene does well to highlight this. We then get a great montage as the Doctor combines alien tech in the form of Tim Shaw's recall unit and a whole lot of Sheffield steel to create a brand new sonic screwdriver. Now during the montage we see the 13th Doctor smiling at a spoon. Weird, I know, but this could be a possible reference to the 12th Doctor, who once had a sword fight with Robin Hood, but used a spoon as a weapon. Speaking of spoons, if you look at the silhouette of the new Sonic, it actually has a resemblance to the outline of a spoon. Designer Darren Faraday said this wasn't intentional, however many elements were, including the Sheffield steel branding seal staying on the Sonic's handle. This element was contributed by Richard Wells. The Sonic was 3D printed at first to test design. However, in a behind-the-scenes goof, Darren misplaced a decimal point, creating a tiny Sonic, later to be retconned with this size Sonic, based on the final design. And here's one of the original designs that was later improved upon. The directing throughout this montage is phenomenal and really makes for entertaining viewing, with a great variety of shots and angles combined with numerous practical and lighting effects. Another potential Easter egg within the episode are the goggles the Doctor is wearing, looking similar to the 11th Doctor's goggles he often wore when repairing and tinkering with the TARDIS. The next scene gives us an insight into the torment of the dead man, like going through all the programs he made, all in an effort to find his sister in the 7 years she went missing. It's a sad tale, really showing the effect aliens can have on a person's life, either making it much worse or much better. Now as the Doctor uses her new Sonic on the pod, she makes a very on-the-nose comment about it not being a knife. And also if you look closely at the Sonic, you can see that it looks like a diagnostic screen, like a little blue line, for the Doctor to read off, which is something that hasn't been present before. The Doctor then comes up with yet another plan as she is bombarded with questions once more. The Doctor has already proven to be one of action and some of experiences. She's been fighting monsters and saving planets for thousands of years at this point, so she has a fair deal with what she's doing. There's a small comedic but dark scene as a drunken man holding a takeaway throws a bit of salad and that he doesn't want at Tim Shaw, who proceeds to quickly kill him. If only the drunk guy didn't order that salad, maybe he'd still be alive. This also shows how this alien is happy to lash out and kill for the smallest inconvenience. We then get the Doctor's team, which almost feels like the Attic gang from the Sarah Jane Adventures, tackle the gathering coil creature head on. Whilst the creature's been stunned, the other alien rocks up to the scene. The Doctor immediately puts herself in front of everyone to protect them from any form of attack. The alien reveals himself to be a Stenza, a new alien for Doctor Who. He uses the teeth like a gruesome tally of how many people he's killed. Now this is not only creepy and horrifying as there are dozens of teeth, each belong to different victims, but it also begs the question, what's a Stenza dentist like? The Doctor then shows a bit of her previous personality with comments mocking Tim Shaw's name, calling him Tim Shaw, and calling him an office junior. This rooftop showdown leads to the Doctor making a stand against Tim Shaw, and Tim Shaw then teleporting away to complete the savage ritual and get Carl, the minor character, back on the train that had no one valued and no one thought was special. When we see Carl as a crane operator, he says the line, "Somebody out there wants me." The meaning of Tim Shaw wanting him as a secondary meaning is the simple kind of self-help phrase is just such a brilliant way of making it work. We then get a glimpse into the life of the security officer at the construction yard, as we hear him on the phone to his granddaughter building a character of a family man who has people who will miss him. This is soon followed by Tim Shaw executing him. We then get a payoff for the details Yaz obtained on the train, and the gang go to find Carl. Now skipping forward a bit, we have the Doctor, Yaz and Ryan climbing the opposing crane, and Yaz asking to do her plan. The Doctor responds that she will when she gets to the top. Whether this is the truth or if she's just playing the fool like the second Doctor often did is hard to tell. Yaz is caring and considerate as she remembers about Ryan's dyspraxia as they begin to climb the crane. Now as Carl tries to escape from the crane, he places a hard hat on his head, which is quite funny, because a fall of that distance onto concrete, well, a hard hat isn't going to save you. Now this final showdown is orchestrated really well. As Ryan struggles to climb, he finds the determination he lacked with the bike to keep going. The Doctor uses her environment to her advantage and acts as a figure of encouragement for Carl. Meanwhile, Grace shows her determination to help others, even with Graham's protests. After Tim Shaw grabs Carl, we get this great action set piece as the Doctor jumps between the two cranes, followed by a comment on how her legs used to be longer in comparison to her previous incarnation. Now this entire sequence is brilliantly filmed and the stunts and practical effects brilliantly worked by the team at Real Effects, who have been part of the Doctor Who show since the 2005 revival. Tim and the Doctor go head to head in a battle of wits as the Doctor goes to drop the recall circuit before Tim can detonate the DNA bombs. As she makes a speech about change and honouring the past in a direct nod to the process of regeneration, and the huge change the show is facing, the Doctor then goes to defeat the threat with the power of the sonic screwdriver. Now this time it wasn't a reset button or anything overly predictable, so it couldn't have been worse. However, what makes the victory great, so to speak, is the sacrifice of Grace as she dies disabling the gathering coil creature. Comforting Graham even when she is the one on the brink of death, her final action is to care about someone else. And that fits the title of The Woman Who Fell to Earth. Now this double meaning of the title of the episode, paired with Ryan's YouTube video not talking about the Doctor but about Grace, shows how important Grace is, and the fact that the Doctor has always held the same traits as Grace, being smart, funny and caring, shows that the Doctor being a woman is something that should have happened sooner, as when you think of someone strong and defensive, someone reliable and comforting, there's no one better than a grandma, a mum, or a woman. The Doctor is a woman now, and it's about time the Jodie Whittaker's performance being absolutely fantastic and brilliant, every way bringing a new but familiar energy to the show and immediately becoming the character we've waited to see. So the next scene shows Ryan attempting to ride his bike once more, falling off numerous times as the Doctor watches on. Now according to Tosin Cole, he wasn't feeling how the stunt performer was falling, so completed some takes himself to make it appear more natural. Now I have to say that each and every actor with roles big or small were phenomenal in this episode, and the main cast really stand out. Now many doubted the idea of a female Doctor, however people also doubted Bradley Walsh as a TV presenter and comedian in his role as one of the Doctor's friends. But in this funeral scene where he gives a speech and then reveals that he is in remission from cancer, not only makes him a relatable character, but at once believable and honest. However, what is hard to find believable is the fact that the Doctor remained in her tattered clothes throughout the organisation of the funeral and the funeral service, as I doubt organising a funeral is a quick process. However, I see why this was done, because throwing one of the Doctor's most iconic moments between the death and a funeral would only break the mood and feel out of place. Now when the Doctor does acquire the new outfit, it's from a charity shop which we can actually visit. It's in Cardiff and it's the Kidney Research UK shop. The fact that the Doctor gets her clothes from that place will actually help people. The costume itself was designed by Ray Holman with the insight of Jodie Whittaker. Now you may notice the Doctor now has an earring. It looks great, but begs the question, where does she get her ears pierced? Other than that, the costume just really works. The Doctor and the gang then reunite in the warehouse, rewire the stanza tech so the Doctor can find her TARDIS. The Doctor utters the words "deep breath" as she says goodbye to her friends, with no desire to take them with her, which is quite odd, and also in a way a reference to her previous incarnation's first adventure titled Deep Breath. The episodes end with the team being accidentally transported into space and nothing around them, no sign of rescue. This is a great cliffhanger to end on, with the audience coming back next week. I'm definitely going to be watching next week, and I hope you are too. So, The Woman Who Fell to Earth, an episode about change and one that introduced a new doctor, new friends, new monsters, and a new production team. The way the series is being made is brilliant, the writing is great, and features moments and emotions that are commonplace in big dramas like Broadchurch, but feature loads of aliens. The dynamic in some scenes reminded me of the Sarah Jane Adventures, but this show isn't childish and a mess. Instead, it features dark deaths and realistic storylines and issues that affect real people. The pacing of the episode was great, and there was a plenty of references and facts, even without the obvious references to previous stories. A lack of a title sequence felt odd, and not having the TARDIS feature at all in episode 1 was an interesting choice, but allows for the episode to stand out, being one of the few modern episodes not to feature the interior or exterior of the TARDIS. I definitely think Jodie Whittaker is right for the role of the Doctor, but what her Doctor will really be like is something to keep an eye on as her personality develops as she finds her feet in the role over the next few episodes. The Woman Who Fell to Earth is definitely worth a watch, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as me. Thank you very much for watching, and if you've watched to the end of this video, then you're brilliant. Thank you very much. I know the review is quite long, but it also feels right to take an in-depth look at the episode, since it takes the production team and all the crew and cast so long to make it, and it takes the episode so long to reach us. We need to kind of make the most of them. There are so many behind the scenes facts and Easter eggs to talk about along the way, and just talking about the episode in an in-depth way really helps you appreciate what goes on behind the scenes, as well as the episode itself being just great. If you enjoyed the idea of this video, then and want me to do the rest of the episode reviews like this, then leave a like below. Don't forget to subscribe to see more, and be sure to comment below with your thoughts on the episode. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.